Talks of you maybe filling in for Tyson Fury with Wilder. Obviously he got COVID. Any talks, or at least did you think about that?
No, but I was getting ready for, I thought there was going to be another a mix-up with Anthony Joshua and Usyk. But, things happen for a reason. But I got to stay in my own lane right now and climb back to the ladders.
What's good, family? Smash the like button and subscribe. So we just heard there from Andy.
Must be my movement, my combination.
Andy Margin Boo Ruiz coming through. Now, I'm very disappointed here. I'm very disappointed on a number of fronts, to be fair. What do we know? 2-2s. Andy Ruiz, when he nicked AJ's belt, 2019 June. Andy Margin Boo Ruiz nicks AJ's belt out of the bin. No doubt. Andy Margin Boo Ruiz at that time had a contract with AJ. He nicked AJ's belt, and then, after nicking AJ's belt and having a contract, he tried to run off and fight Deontay Wilder. Literally, this isn't speculative, this is fact. Eddie Hearn had to start legal action, had to file a case against Andy Margin Boo Ruiz to get the fight done. That's the truth, that's the facts. Andy Ruiz tried to run off and fight Wilder. No doubt. Anyway, that background is relevant because now we hear this suggestion from the interviewer, which is a great suggestion, by the way. I think it's perfect. Andy Ruiz, what do you think about filling in and fighting Wilder? Bearing in mind, when you had a contract, you was all in the video begging to fight Wilder. Now, when it makes perfect sense, you both got no belts, however, it would still be a pay-per-view interesting fight. It will be a who needs it fight in as much as you're both washed up and the winner would therefore progress forward. Given that you just got filled in by Chris Arreola. Given that Wilder got filled in by Tyson Fury. This is a great fight. This is a perfect who needs it fight. Who wants it fight. And you, like I said, you have got me disappointed because what's wrong with fighters these days? All you had to say was yes. But you couldn't even do that, which shows how Al Heyman you all are. Why don't you? Why not? Why would you not want that fight? I don't get that. You was begging for it when you had a contract, after you nicked a belt, you was begging for the fight. Now it makes perfect sense. You both got nothing going on. Tyson's scary playing games.
I don't think so. I'm in my own lane and
in your own lane. Why weren't you in your own lane when you had a contract with AJ? Why are you trying to run off and fight Wilder for? Explain that to me, please. Now, you both got naffle going on. All of a sudden, you want to be in your own lane. What's wrong with these people? I'm honestly confused. This is the perfect time. Andy Ruiz should have been, in fact, that's why I rate Dillian White. Dillian White, chomping at the bit. Not,
in my own lane.
I think what Andy Ruiz means to say is, nah, I'm happy fighting bums on pay-per-view. That's the only conclusion I can make. And it's a sad thing because I thought Andy Ruiz was all about it. And what I'm confused about, there was some talk of AJ versus Ruiz 3. If Usyk falls through, you was happy to fight AJ. And I think that, to be fair, that is actually a big factor in this. I think Andy Ruiz thinking to himself, wait a minute, if AJ's serious about this trilogy, there's $10 million again. That's a lot of money. Now, if I get filled in by Wilder, that's not going to look good. That's going to certainly not help the AJ chances. And I think in a way, Eddie Hearn and AJ have potentially put a big stake in between this Wilder fight and Ruiz. Because Ruiz ain't going to want to touch anything with anyone. Especially not after he got filled in by Chris Arreola. I think Ruiz's plan is to fight as many bums as possible. Just stay fighting bums. I think that's his plan. He's following the Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder method. Fight bums until you get a big fight. And then even then, turn the big fight down, as Wilder and Fury have done. So maybe, he really is going to follow the Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder plan of literally just fighting bums, which is what they love to do. But I'm disappointed in Andy Ruiz because I thought he was more about it than that. You're with the best trainer, you've lost loads of weight, why not fight Wilder? You should be thinking, I'll run through Wilder, and I actually like them odds. Now, I'm not so sure now, after Arreola filled you in, but 6 months ago, I was rock hard for Andy Ruiz. Until he exposed himself. Until he exposed what I already knew, which is no good. Yeah? But again, as we've explained before, AJ really is the fault for this. Any of us fans who thought that Ruiz was any good, that's AJ's fault. That's on AJ and AJ's team for building him up to be something it's not. Yeah? Ruiz is a C-rate fighter. AJ made him look like an A-star, Hall of Fame, GOAT, pound for pound #1. The way that AJ fought Ruiz twice made Ruiz look like he's red hot. Made him look like he's shit hot. In reality, he's a bottom. Chris Arreola went in there with a bit of swagger and bossed all over him. And that's what swagger can do. We talk about confidence, but that's honestly the power of swagger. Swagger is, it's like gold dust. If you can have swagger, wow. That's what Chris Arreola did. Chris Arreola doesn't have the attributes of AJ. I'd say Chris Arreola is probably barely a third of the fighter AJ is. But guess what he does have? He had swagger. He went in there, no attributes, but the swagger, he was in there just stunting, and next thing you know, he's knocking Ruiz's head all over the place. That's what swagger can do. That's what's missing from AJ's game, just quickly. Swagger is missing from AJ's game. Remember the last time we saw AJ go in there? Just in there, just stunting and swaggering. You don't see it. You see him scary, bouncing on his toes, twitching and doing way too much. You show me the swagger. You man, show me the AJ in there just stunting. Yeah? Marching forward. That's what stunting is. Stunting in boxing, yeah, is where you're doing things which make people think, okay, no, this is going right. Things like, I don't know, you dropping your hands. You know what I'm saying? You're just stunting. That's what stunting is. Stunting is doing things which makes the fans think, you know what I'm saying? Is this man serious right now? Is he alright? Because you're doing things that don't make sense. But that's because of how high your swagger is. And when Chris Arreola was in there, old and no attributes, bouncing Ruiz's head all over the place, that was swagger. What's this? Because in my mind, all the fans, me and myself included, were thinking, how is a guy this old and this not good in there ringing Ruiz's head like this? Knowing what Ruiz did to AJ. And again, like I told you, that's what swagger is. Swagger enables you to do things which the fans can't comprehend. No fan can understand what was going on in there. Having seen how AJ fought Ruiz and how Arreola fought him, we was all confused, thinking, what the fuck, what's going on here? We thought Ruiz was this big slayer. Swagger completely crossed that out. AJ ain't got no swagger at the moment. He's swaggerless. Any swagger he had, and in fact, a great example of the swagger is when he's in there with, who was it? When he's in there with, who was it? Dillian White, for example. When AJ's in there with Dillian White, just stalking him. Yeah? Stalking him. You just feel a vibe of swagger in there. And I said to you, man, one of the key elements of swagger in that Dillian White fight was when AJ just started walking forward. Now, what I mean by walking forward is, normally in boxing, you're in your stance, yeah? And you take, your lead foot will go forward and your back foot will follow. But walking is when you literally, your back foot goes front, you're literally walking kind of thing. In boxing, when you're being disciplined and when you're kind of being cautious, you never walk. But walking is a complete lack of respect. It's a swagger move. When you just start walking forward, it just means, you know, I don't need no boxing. Boxing stance for what? I'm just begging to get on top of you ASAP. Because walking gets you quicker, gets you forward quicker. So when someone starts walking forward, it just means that you'll rock hard for them. You don't care about no boxing form. You don't care about no technique. I'm just looking to get up inside them cheeks ASAP. That's what it means. Guess what? You show me a video of AJ walking Pulev down. Show me a video of AJ walking Ruiz down. You don't see it because he's scary. He ain't got no swagger. Yeah, he bouncing on his toes. He bouncing on your toes for Pulev. You what? I already told you, man. If I was training AJ, yeah, that Pulev camp, we would have done nothing but walk forward. AJ would have forgot what a boxing stance was. The amount he'd have been walking forward. Because what are we bouncing around for? What are we in a stance for? We're walking forward and getting on top of him and banging away. It's as simple as that. Yeah? But anyway, I've digressed. The point is, Andy Ruiz, yeah, this was your perfect opportunity to campaign for Wilder. You're with the PBC, yeah? Andy Wilder's lost the fight, and I'm not saying you're going to get it, but at least try. That's why I have to give Dillian White his credit. At least put something out there. I mean, fucking, what's wrong with these guys? I'll tell you what's wrong with them. They're scary looking asses. That's what it is these days. These days, people are all mathematicians. Oh, well, if I do this, I do that. Oh, AJ with 10 mil. They all do maths, 100%. No one wants to just get them nuts out and see what the swagger's saying. That's why I rate Chris Ariola, because he could have sat there and said, well, No, he went to work. He got the swagger out. He played ping pong with Andy Ruiz's head. He played ping pong with the AJ Slayer's head. And rightfully so. He exposed all that hype, we put in Ruiz, just got popped. Listen, Chris Ariola popped the AJ Slayer cherry. No doubt. Yeah? So, Andy, I think what's going on here as well, I think Andy's in a bit of a confidence crisis. I think when he beat AJ back in June 2019, he was obviously on a bit of a high. And that's, for him, he's thinking, well, I've just slayed the best heavyweight in the last 50 years. So, going in there with Wilder's nothing. Now Chris Ariola, who's not all that and old, just played ping pong with your Barnett, put you down. You probably ain't feeling too tough. And you know what I'm saying? It's a different thing. When you just watched AJ, you rock hard for everything. You think the world's your oyster. When you've just had ping pong played with your head by Chris Ariola, maybe fighting Wilder, and you know what I'm saying? And actually, listen to what Ruiz says. He kind of implies that. He says, I need to build up, I need to go my own way. Which means, I don't want no smoke. Unless it's with AJ for 10 mil. But I don't know, who knows? Who knows? The way Ruiz is talking, who knows if he even wants that AJ fight? Not being funny, I don't even remember Ruiz campaigning for that, to be fair. Do you? Maybe he did, I'm trying to think now. Did he campaign for it? I'm not sure, in fact, no. Eddie Hearn said he reached out to... No, I'm not sure either way. Ruiz weren't campaigning for the AJ free fight. Which really does imply that he's going through a bit of a confidence thing right now. Which makes sense. Like I said, when Chris Ariola's played ping pong with your Barnett, yeah, listen, you'll be looking for confidence too. Yeah? But anyway, for me, it's just a bit of a shame. This is what should be happening now. People need to start distancing themselves from Fury. Fury, you want to have long C19? Have long C19. And that's why I said I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in Andy Ruiz. I'm disappointed in the governing bodies. They need to step up and say, it's AJ, it's Wilder versus Dillian White for the belt. Now, if Wilder says no, I want Fury, I'm going to wait, fair play. Guess what? Dillian White versus Ruiz for the belt. That's how it should go. Right now, we shouldn't be talking about Fury. I should be able to talk about, WBC are putting on Dillian White versus someone for the belt. Whether it's Wilder or whether it's Ruiz. That's what should be the topic today. Or even Joe Joyce. I don't know. One of them ones. That's what should be, you know what I'm saying? That's what should be on focus right now. Not, Wilder and Fury still. It's dead. It's played out. I don't know what the WBC are doing. I really don't. I mean, even Dillian versus AJ for the belt. Or AJ versus Wilder for the belt. If they came along now, because bearing in mind the Usyk fight isn't done, if WBC came out now and said, listen, Wilder versus AJ for the belt. Would AJ take that fight? Who knows? Put it out there. And if not, Dillian versus Wilder, like I said. But none of these things are being... I really wonder sometimes what we're doing here with this sport. I'm not sure what's going on. There's no consistency. There's never any... You never feel like the sport of boxing is headed in one direction. Like the UFC, you always know... I'm not saying they're always perfect, but 90% of the time, every fight that takes place, you know where it's going. So, it all goes in one direction. It's all a big funnel upwards. You know that, it's going to be this guy versus that guy, more or less, isn't it? Like I said, 90% of the time, you know what's coming next with the UFC. With boxing, it's just all loosey-goosey. In boxing, you can have a champion in Tyson Scary, who hasn't fought for 18 months, who is then sick, pushing on 2 years, and everyone just sits around and waits. Do you think the UFC would be a man who's not fought or planning on not fighting in 2 years would just sit around waiting? No, they're pushing on. You can be champion emeritus and fight the winner, and that's what I don't understand. That can always be the case. If Fury is really sick, let him play around. We give you first dibs on the man back. Take as long as you need. since you need 4 months. Take some more time. That's what should be the response right now. And I think the problem is, to an extent, the fact that Ruiz and even with Dillian, I'm not sure what's Dillian really. I don't know, but I'm not sure what's Dillian doing behind closed doors. I told you, man, that behind closed doors, Dillian should be putting pressure on, or he should be reaching out to Wilder and putting pressure on WBC. Are they doing that? I don't feel confident. I really don't. If Ruiz and Dillian and even AJ, and maybe AJ's team should be reaching out to WBC and telling them, listen, Fury can be a champion emeritus. Let's get the undisputed fight on now. Me versus Wilder for the belt. Because we know once, if and when AJ gets that undisputed belt, then everyone has to come through him. And if people want to be scary, you know what I'm saying? There's no upside to being scary if that's the case. As soon as AJ gets 4 belts, people can be as scary as they want. The problem with boxing right now is the fact that you got scary looking asses who have belts. That's the key issue here. I've got no problem, yeah. If AJ gets to fight for undisputed and he wins 4 belts, and then Wilder decides, for example, let's say AJ fought Dillian White again and beat him and got 4 belts. And Wilder decides, and Fury decides, you know what, I've got no belt and I don't fancy fighting AJ. I'm just going to mill around and fight bums. No one minds that. The problem is when these bums, Fury and Wilder, get belts and they stay doing everything but fighting the main fight. But for some reason, WBC loves it. WBC loves having a champion do naff all for 2 years. And then with Wilder, what did he do? Just fight bums. I just feel there's not enough pressure going on. There's just not enough. Dillian White coming out publicly and shouting about, yeah, I'm just not sure how effective it is. Behind closed doors, are these teams proposing things to the WBC? Are they proposing these kind of concepts? I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't make a difference if they did, but I'd feel if I was managing a boxer, all these things I'm telling you right now would be going through to the WBC. What's stopping putting Fury as a champion emeritus? He needs 4 months off. We can fight in August. He ain't going to be back till October anyway. We're going to be back before he's back. Are they proposing these things? I don't know. So, listen, it's a shame Andy Ruiz all of a sudden gone soft, but it just sums up the state of boxing, really, doesn't it? Soft.